The night was silent. The stars above the dead planet shone like cold fire. Inside a broken metal shelter, a human man sat alone. His name was Daniel. He had been living here for months, maybe years. He had lost count. Food was low. Air was thin, and every night the loneliness grew heavier on his chest. Daniel thought nothing could disturb this silence. But then it came. Knock, knock, knock. A sound at the metal door. Daniel froze. His heart raced. No one had ever come here. No human, no friend. Nothing, he whispered to himself. It must be the wind, just the wind. But the knocking came. Again, knock, 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 slow, heavy, purposeful. Daniel reached for his rusted weapon. A broken piece of steel he had sharpened into a blade. His hands trembled as he moved closer to the door. The shelter walls groaned with the pressure of the night wind, but the knocking was not wind. It was real. He pressed his ear against the cold metal, a toe, and then a voice, soft, strange, echoing through the steel. "I will warm your bed, human." Daniel's blood turned cold. His breath caught in his throat. The voice was not human. Again, the voice whispered, "My children need a father." He stepped back, his blade shaking in his hand. Children, father. Who was out there? Slowly, with a deep breath, Daniel pushed the door open a crack. The desert air rushed in, cold and dry. And there, standing under the pale light of 2 moons, was a figure. A woman. But not human. Her skin shimmered faint blue, her eyes glowing like burning coals. Strange marks ran along her arms, glowing softly in the darkness. She wore a torn robe that looked centuries old, and behind her, 2 small shapes hid in the sand. Children, alien children. Daniel's voice cracked as he whispered, "Stay back. Don't come closer." The woman tilted her head. Her voice was calm, almost sad. "You fear me, but I fear more for them." She pointed to the children, who peeked out with wide, luminous eyes. "They have no father. They have no protector. My husband is gone." And now, her gaze locked onto Daniel's trembling face. "You are here." Daniel stepped back into the shadows of the shelter. His mind spun. An alien widow asking him, begging him, to become father to her children. It was madness. "No," Daniel muttered. "You should leave. Go back to your kind." The woman's face changed. For a moment, Daniel saw the grief hidden in her glowing eyes. She stepped closer, the sand crunching. Under her feet, her voice dropped lower, more desperate. "You don't understand. My husband died in your war. Your kind killed him. But my children," she turned to look at them, "my children will not survive without you. They need strength. They need you." Daniel's blade lowered a little. His heart pounded. He looked at the children again. Their small frames shook in the cold wind. They clung to each other, afraid, yet watching him with hope. Something inside Daniel twisted. He had been alone for so long. No voice, no touch. Number. Family, and now this strange widow was offering. No, demanding. That he take a place in her life. Still, his fear was stronger. He shook his head. "I can't. I don't belong with you." But then he saw it. Fresh scars. Across her arms. Across her neck. Wounds not yet healed. Daniel's breath caught. She had been attacked. Recently, someone or something was hunting her. The widow noticed his gaze. She lifted her hand, showing the glowing scar on her palm. Her voice broke. "They will come again. For me, for them, for all of us." She stepped closer to Daniel, her shadow falling across him. "If you turn us away, they will die. And maybe you too. The desert wind howled outside, carrying with it a sound that made Daniel's blood run cold. A distant roar. Low, hungry. The children gasped and clutched their mother. Daniel gripped his blade tighter, eyes wide. Something was out there, beyond the dunes, moving in the dark. The widow's voice became a whisper again. Let us in, human. Let us stay. Warm us. Protect us. Or the night will take us all. Daniel's breath shook in his chest. He looked at the alien woman, at the children, at the scars, at the desert beyond where shadows moved under the moons. He had a choice. Close the door and stay alone, or open it wider and invite danger inside. The knocking was gone now. Instead, there was silence. Heavy, waiting. Daniel's hand hovered over the door handle. His mind screamed, no. His heart whispered, yes. And then from the darkness beyond the dunes, a giant shadow rose. Towering, crawling, coming closer. The roar echoed again, louder this time, shaking the metal walls of the shelter. The alien widow's eyes burned brighter. She clutched her children close and looked at Daniel with one final, desperate plea. My children need a father. Daniel's blade slipped from his shaking hand. The door creaked open. Darkness rushed in. The door shut with a loud echo, sealing out the night wind. Inside the shelter, dim light flickered from a dying lamp. Daniel stood frozen, his back against the metal wall. His weapon lay forgotten at his feet. Across from him, the alien widow stood tall but weary. Her children clung to her torn robe, their glowing eyes darting around the small room with fear and wonder. For a long moment, no one spoke. The silence pressed heavy between them. Finally, Daniel found his voice. Why are you here? Why me? The widow's gaze met his. Her eyes burned like embers, but inside them was a sorrow so deep it made Daniel's chest tighten. She spoke softly, as if every word cost her strength. My name is Sira. She placed a hand on her chest. My people lived in the valley beyond the dunes. We had peace once. We had families, songs, fire under the stars. Her children's small heads turned toward her as she spoke, listening like they had heard the story many times before. But then Sira's voice trembled. The war came. Your kind and mine. My husband fought. He fought until the sky burned, until the ground cracked, and then her voice broke. He did not come back. Daniel swallowed hard. He wanted to look away, but her words pulled him in. Sira knelt beside her children and brushed the sand from their faces. They are all I have, my blood, my future. But without a father, they are weak, alone. Daniel felt anger rise in him. And you think I can replace him? That I can step into your life? I'm just a man trying to survive. Nothing more. Sira's eyes narrowed, not with hate, but with determination. No, you are more. You are human. Your blood is strong. Your spirit fights even when you are broken. That is what they need. Daniel shook his head. Humans killed your husband. We destroyed your home. Why would you want one of us? The children looked up at Daniel, silent, studying his face as if trying to read his soul. Sira rose to her full height. The dim light caught the scars across her arms, fresh, angry wounds. Because I have no choice. The hunters come for me, for them. My people are scattered, hiding, dying, and you. Her voice softened, almost like a whisper. You are the only one left here. Daniel's chest tightened. He wanted to push her out, send her back into the night. But he couldn't ignore the truth. The sound he had heard outside, that terrible roar, meant something hunted them. And if it hunted them, it would hunt him too. He clenched his fists. You put me in danger just by being here. Sira stepped closer. Her shadow fell over him. Danger was already here, human. Alone, you will not last. Together, maybe we will. Lamp flickered, casting long shadows across the walls. Daniel felt the eyes of the children on him, heavy and innocent. One of them, the smallest, crawled closer and tugged at his torn sleeve. Her tiny voice was soft, broken, but clear. Father. Words struck Daniel like a knife. He stumbled back, shaking his head. No, I am not your father. The child's glowing eyes filled with tears. She crawled back to Sira's side, burying her face in her mother's robe. Silence again. Only the wind howled outside and the faint scrape of claws against sand in the distance. Daniel picked up his blade and pointed it at the door. If something is out there, we'll need to defend this place. His voice was rough. Tell me the truth, Sira. Who is hunting you? Her face hardened. She sat on the floor, her children curling beside her like small shadows. Her voice dropped low. They are called the Drovak. Monsters born of the war. They eat the living. Human or alien. They smell blood, fear, weakness. She touched her scars. They found me 2 nights ago. I barely escaped, but they will come again. And if they find us here, she looked at him with burning eyes. They will not leave anyone alive. Daniel's stomach turned cold. He gripped the blade tighter, imagining the giant shadow he had seen outside. So you came to me, he said. Because you think I can protect you. Sira nodded once. Not only protect, must become part of us. My children need more than a shield. They need a father. They need someone who will not run when the night screams. Daniel felt the weight of her words crush down on him. He was just one man, tired and broken. Yet she was asking him to be more than he had ever been even before the war. He wanted to refuse. He wanted to scream at her to leave. But deep down, a tiny voice whispered something else. A voice he had buried long ago. The voice of a man who once dreamed of family, of belonging. The shelter groaned as the wind howled louder. Sand rattled. Against the metal walls, outside, something scraped closer. Heavy, crawling, waiting. Daniel's breath quickened. He looked at Sira, at her scars, at her glowing eyes filled with sorrow and fire. Then at the children, trembling but hopeful. The choice pressed against him like a blade at his throat. Stay alone. And die alone, or stand with them. And become something he never imagined. A sudden crash outside shook the shelter. Dust rained. Down from the ceiling, the children gasped. Sira's eyes burned brighter as she whispered again, almost like a prayer. The shelter shook again. Metal groaned, bolts rattled, dust fell from the ceiling. Daniel's knuckles turned white around the blade as his heart pounded like a drum. Outside, the night was no longer silent. Something scraped across the sands, flow, heavy, deliberate. The sound of claws dragging. Sira pulled her children close, wrapping her torn robe around them. Their glowing eyes stared at the door, wide with terror. The youngest whimpered softly, and Sira hushed her with trembling hands. Daniel whispered, "How many?" Sira's voice was low. 1, maybe 2. The Drovak never come alone. The name made Daniel's stomach twist. He remembered the shadow he had seen before, the towering shape crawling across the dunes. Now it was here. Hunting. Boom. The door shook under a powerful strike. The children cried out. Daniel pressed his shoulder against the metal, pushing hard. They're trying to break in. Sira stood, her eyes glowing brighter in the dim light. They can smell us. The scars, the blood. They will not stop. Another blow smashed against the door. The hinges screamed. Daniel shouted, If they get through, we're dead. Sierra's hand touched the wall, feeling the vibrations of the monster outside. Her voice was grim. Not if we move. Not if we run. Daniel spun on her. Run, out there. He pointed to the door as the claws raked against it. You want to face that thing in the dark? Her gaze met his without fear. If we stay, we are trapped. If we run, there is hope. The children huddled close, shaking. Daniel felt the weight of their fear pressing into him. His blade suddenly felt small, useless, against whatever clawed beast waited outside. Another crash. The metal bent inward, sharp edges peeling like paper. A foul stench seeped through the crack, a mix of rot and iron. Daniel gagged. The widow's eyes blazed like twin fires. Decide now, human. Fight here and die, or follow me into the dark. Daniel cursed under his breath. Damn it. He grabbed the lamp and smashed it against the wall, plunging the shelter into darkness. The children gasped, but he whispered, Quiet. Don't let it hear you. Through the crack in the door, glowing eyes appeared, yellow, hungry, watching Daniel's. Skin crawled. The metal split further, a clawed hand forcing its way inside. The fingers were long, bone-thin, and dripping with black slime. Sierra did not wait. She grabbed her children, pulled Daniel by the arm, and kicked open the back hatch of the shelter. Sand and cold air rushed in. Run, she hissed. They spilled. Out into the night. The desert stretched before them, endless under the light of two pale moons. The dunes rolled like waves, shadows twisting across them. Behind, the shelter door tore free with a scream of metal. A monstrous roar shook the air. Daniel turned for one. Glimpse and wished he hadn't. The Drovok stood in the broken doorway. Its body, a nightmare. Its skin was pale and stretched tight over long, crooked bones. Its mouth split open, wide and jagged, filled with black teeth. Its arms dragged the ground, claws scraping sparks against metal. Its glowing yellow eyes locked. On them, it roared again, a sound that made Daniel's ears bleed. The children screamed. Sierra shoved them forward. Run? They dashed into the dunes, sand kicking up under their feet. Daniel's lungs burned, his heart racing faster than ever. Behind them, the Drovak gave chase. The ground shook with its weight. Its claws dug deep, propelling it faster than anything its size should move. Daniel glanced back too close. Too fast. Where are we going? He shouted. Sierra's voice carried over the wind. There is a cave ahead. If we reach it, we may live. Her robe whipped behind her as she ran, her children clinging to her sides. Daniel's blade bounced in his hand, useless against the monster gaining ground. The Drovok roared again, leaping forward. It crashed into the sand just behind them, spraying grit into the air. Daniel stumbled, but pushed himself up. His ears rang. His body screamed at him to give up. But then he saw the children, their tiny legs barely moving fast enough. There. Glowing eyes wide with terror. Something inside Daniel snapped. He would not let them be taken. With a shout, he spun on his heel and raised his blade. The Drovak lunged, claws slashing. Daniel swung with all his strength, striking its arm. The blade bit deep, black slime spraying across the sand. The creature shrieked, reeling back. Go! Daniel shouted. Run to the cave. Sierra pulled. The children ahead, her eyes blazing with both fear and fire. Daniel stood alone in the dune. Panting, blade dripping with the Drovak's blood. The monster growled low, its broken arm twisting as if it felt no pain. It grinned, a horrible stretch. Of teeth, Daniel's knees shook, but he raised the blade again. Come on then, he whispered. Come for me. The Drovak leaped. Daniel braced for death, and then a scream split the night. Not from Daniel. From above, another DRO. It dropped from the cliff of sand behind him, its claws raised high. Daniel's eyes went wide. Two of them, the cave's dark mouth yawned in the distance. Where Sira and the children vanished inside, Daniel was alone. Daniel's chest heaved as he stumbled into the cave's mouth. His lungs burned, his throat raw from running. Behind him, the desert roared with the unearthly cries of the Drovak. The cave swallowed him in cold darkness. The air inside was damp, carrying the scent of stone and old water. His eyes adjusted slowly to the gloom. Sira was already there, clutching her children close. Their faint glow lit the walls, casting long shadows that danced like ghosts. Daniel dropped to his knees, his blade clattering against the stone floor. Sweat poured down his face. He had struck the Drovak, slowed it, but he knew it wasn't dead. Monsters like that didn't die so easily. Sira's voice was low, but sharp. You stayed behind. Why? Daniel looked up, his breath ragged. Because? If I didn't, they would have caught you. Caught them. He nodded at the children. For the first time since he met her, Sira's eyes softened. There was still fire in them, but also something else, something almost human. Respect. The children crawled toward Daniel, their tiny glowing hands brushing his torn sleeve. The youngest whispered, "Father." Again, timid and small dot. Daniel flinched. He wanted to correct her, to push the word away. But instead, he sighed and let it hang in the air. From deep within the cave came the sound of dripping water. Each drop echoed, endless. The cave stretched far into blackness, a winding throat of stone. We cannot stay at the entrance, Sarah said. The Drovak will smell us. They will follow. Daniel wiped the black slime from his blade. So we go deeper. She nodded. It is dangerous, but less dangerous than the night. He glanced at the children again, their small faces pale with fear. Can they keep walking? They must, Sira answered. If we stop, we die. So they moved, slowly, carefully, deeper into the cave. The walls narrowed, the ceiling dripped. Strange markings ran across the stone-old carvings, perhaps from some ancient people who had once called this world home. Daniel's hand brushed one, and he felt a strange hum through his fingertips, like a pulse. What are these? Atias. Eyes lingered on the symbols. Warnings. My elders spoke of caves like this. Places of hiding, but also of secrets. Some say the caves breathe. Daniel frowned. Breathe. Before she could answer, a sound rose behind them. Scratch, scratch. The Drovak. Crawling at the entrance, sniffing the stone. The children whimpered, and Sira held them tighter. She motioned with her hand, quiet. Daniel's stomach clenched. They hurried deeper, feet splashing in shallow streams of water. The cave twisted, leading them into a large, hollow chamber. Ceilings soared high, vanishing into shadow. Stalagmites jutted from the ground like broken teeth. Here, they stopped to breathe. Daniel pressed his back to the wall, gripping his blade. They're still following. Sira knelt by her children, her voice barely above a whisper. They never stop. The chamber echoed with every sound, the drip of water, the shuffle of feet, the faint hiss of the wind slipping in from the mouth of the cave. Daniel's body ached, but something new stirred in him. As he watched Sira hold her children, he realized they were more than strangers now. He had bled for them, run for them. He could no longer pretend they weren't tied to him. But his doubts still clawed at him. He whispered, "Why me, Sira? Why not find one of your own kind?" She looked at him with eyes that glowed in the dark. "Because there are none. My people are gone from this land. You are the only one left. Alone, you rot. With us, you live." Her words struck deep. He hated the truth in them. Before he could answer, the cave shook. A roar thundered through the stone. The children screamed. From the tunnel they had just come through, glowing yellow eyes appeared. Not one pair. 2, 3. The Drovak had followed. Daniel's pulse hammered in his ears. He raised his blade. "Can't fight them all." Sira's face was grim. She pointed to the far end of the chamber where a narrow crack split the wall. There, another passage. They ran. The children clung to Sira, Daniel covering their backs. Behind, the Drovak poured into the chamber. Their claws scraped against stone, their screams filling the cave. The narrow crack forced Daniel to turn sideways, squeezing through the jagged stone. He scraped his arms raw, but he pushed the children forward. Sira shoved them through, then herself. Daniel was last as he slipped inside. A clawed hand slashed past his shoulder, missing him by inches. He stumbled forward, gasping, as the Drovak clawed at the opening but could not fit through. Their roars shook the stone. The passage was tight, but it led deeper still. The air, colder, stranger. The sound of the hunters faded behind them, replaced by another sound. A low hum. The chamber glowed like a beating heart. Pale light pulsed across the walls, veins of strange energy running through the stone. Every thrum made the air vibrate in Daniel's chest. It felt less like a cave and more like the inside of something. Alive, Sira held her children close, her glowing eyes reflecting the strange light. The children were silent now, not from fear, but awe. Their small hands reached toward the walls, fascinated by the faint warmth that seemed to flow through the stone. Daniel tightened his grip on the blade. This isn't natural." Sira shook her head slowly. "No, it is old. Older than my people, older than yours." Daniel's throat went dry. "Then what is it?" Her gaze swept across the chamber, her expression both reverent and fearful. "A womb, a place where the planet breathes. My elders said such caves feed the life of this world. Some call it a sanctuary, others call it a trap." Daniel stepped closer to the glowing walls. The hum grew louder as his hand brushed the surface. For a moment, he thought he felt something pulse back, like the wall was touching him in return. He jerked his hand away, his heart racing. Sira's children giggled softly, unafraid. Their small laughter echoed through the chamber, a strange comfort in the heavy silence. But Daniel could not relax. The Drovaks still clawed at the passage behind them. Their screeches faint now, but persistent. They were patient. They would not leave. He turned to Sira. "We can't stay here forever. We need food, water, a way out." She nodded. "There will be streams deeper inside. Fish, roots, maybe more. We can survive here, but survival is not enough." Daniel frowned. "What do you mean?" Her eyes locked onto his. They burned brighter than the cave light. "I need more than a protector who swings a blade. My children need more than a shield." She stepped closer, her presence pressing against him. "They need someone who will teach them, someone who will make them strong." Daniel shook his head. "I'm not their father. I can't be." Her voice hardened. "You can, you must, or they will die when I am gone." The words struck him like a blow. "Gone? What are you talking about?" Sira slowly unwrapped her robe from her shoulder. Daniel's breath caught when he saw the truth beneath. The scars across her skin were worse than he imagined, dark, jagged wounds that glowed faintly with sickly light. "They did this." "She," whispered the Drovak. "Their claws carry poison. It spreads. It burns. It kills slowly." Daniel's stomach turned. "You're dying." She looked at her children, her voice steady but sad. Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. Before long, I will not walk. I will not rise. My children will be alone. Silence filled the chamber. The cave seemed to breathe louder, echoing her words. Daniel clenched his fists. His mind screamed too. Rejected, to deny the responsibility she was pushing onto him. But the truth was in her glowing scars. He whispered, "And you want me to take your place?" Sira nodded once. "Yes, a father, a guide, a protector. Without you, they will not live." Daniel felt trapped, crushed under the weight of her plea. He wanted to shout, to tell her she was wrong. But the children's glowing eyes fixed on him, full of hope, full of need. The youngest crawled forward and placed her tiny hand on his knee. "Father," she whispered again. His throat tightened. He looked away, gripping his blade so hard his knuckles turned white. Sira studied him, her eyes unreadable. Then, softly, she said, "I offer you a bargain." Daniel glanced back, wary. "What kind of bargain?" Her voice was steady, sharp. "If you take them as your own, I will give you knowledge. Secrets of this cave. Secrets of my people. Power to fight the Drovak, to live." Daniel's pulse quickened. Power. She nodded toward the glowing walls. "This place answers to blood. My blood and maybe yours. Together, we can wake its strength. You will not just survive, you will command it." The idea twisted. In Daniel's mind, power. A weapon, a chance to live longer than just one more night. But at a cost of becoming something he never asked to be. His voice trembled. "And if I refuse?" Her gaze darkened. "Then you will still fight. For us, until you fall. And when you fall, they will die with you." The chamber pulsed around them, the cave breathing heavier as if listening to their exchange. The children pressed against their mother, silent now, sensing the weight of the moment. Daniel's heart thundered. He had survived alone this long. But alone, he was weak. With them, with her bargain. He could be more, but at what price? Before he could answer, a new sound tore through the cave, cracked the stone wall near the entrance, split. A claw forced its way through, dripping black slime. The Drovak had found a way in. Sira's eyes blazed. "Choose, human. Take my bargain, or we all die tonight." Daniel raised his blade, his breath ragged, his mind in chaos. The cave pulsed harder, the walls glowing brighter. Waiting, and in that moment, Daniel knew whatever choice he made, there would be no turning back. The claw cracked through the wall, but then the sound faded. The Drovak screeches grew distant, pulled away by something outside the cave. Daniel kept his blade raised, chest heaving, waiting for another attack. But no attack came. Instead, he heard voices, human voices. "Sector clear. Sweep the tunnels." Daniel's heart slammed against his ribs. For the first time in years, the sound of his own kind echoed in his ears. Boots stomped against stone. Flashlights cut through the dark. Soldiers armed, armored, organized. Sarah stiffened, her glowing eyes narrowing. She pulled her children close, shielding them with her body. The children whimpered, sensing danger. Daniel whispered, "Soldiers." From Earth, Sira's voice was low, sharp. "Your kind. The ones who burned my husband's body, they bring death." Daniel shook his head. No, they can save us." He stepped toward the light, blade lowered. For a moment, hope bloomed. In his chest, hope of rescue, of finally leaving this cursed planet. A beam of light found him. Contact, survivor. 3 soldiers rushed forward. Their rifles rose, then lowered as they recognized him. Their leader, a man with hard eyes and a scarred jaw, stepped closer. Name, Daniel. Daniel Hayes. I've been stranded here. The leader nodded. You're coming with us. We have a ship. We'll take you home. Home, the word nearly broke him. He had dreamed of Earth for so long, the oceans, the cities, the voices of his own people. But then he felt Sierra's hand grab. His arm, strong, desperate. Her glowing eyes burned into him. She whispered fiercely, "Do not trust them." Daniel's throat tightened. "They're my people. Sierra, they can help." The soldiers noticed her in the shadows. Their rifles snapped up instantly, red dots painting across her chest. "What the hell is that?" One soldier hissed. The leader's jaw tightened. "Alien widow." His voice dripped with hate. "Orders are clear. Kill on sight." The children cried out, hiding in their mother's robe. The soldiers' fingers curled on their triggers. Daniel's stomach twisted. "No, she's not a threat. She saved me. Her children. The leader barked a harsh laugh, more like vermin. "They'll grow into killers like the rest of their kind. You don't understand, Hayes. These things don't deserve mercy. Step aside." The rifles aimed steady. Sierra's grip on Daniel's arm trembled, but her voice was steel. "You see, human, they would destroy us. Destroy even you if you stand in their way." Daniel looked between the soldiers and the alien family. His heart tore in two. One soldier leaned closer to the leader. "Sir, maybe he's been compromised. He's protecting them. Should we detain him?" The leader's eyes hardened. "If he won't move, we put him down too." The words slammed into Daniel like a hammer. Put him down. His own kind. His rescuers. His family from Earth ready to kill him because he chose to stand in front of glowing eyes. Instead of guns, Sierra's whisper cut into his ear. "You must choose, Daniel. Them or us." Daniel's chest rose and fell in heavy bursts. His hand shook on his blade. He thought of Earth, of the life he lost, of the safety he craved. But then he looked at the children's innocent eyes glowing with fear. And he remembered the widow's words, "My children need a father." The leader raised his hand, signaling the order. "On my mark. 3, 2, Daniel moved. He stepped between the soldiers and the family, his blade raised. His voice cracked. But it was firm. "You'll have to go through me." The soldiers froze, stunned. Then anger twisted their faces. "Hayes," the leader growled, "you've lost your mind. You side with them, you die with them." Sierra's eyes widened, glowing like fire. For the first time, she didn't call him human. She called him something else. "Protector," the leader snarled. "Open fire." But before a single shot could echo, the cave itself roared. The walls pulsed, the veins of light brightened until the chamber burned with strange energy. The soldiers staggered, blinded, shouting in confusion. The ground trembled. Stones cracked. From deep within, the cave answered. Daniel felt it surge through him, as if the cave recognized his choice. His blood pounded with its rhythm. The soldiers cursed, firing wildly into the glowing stone. Their bullets sparked USLES, SLY. The widow's hand gripped his tightly. Her voice was fierce, triumphant. "The cave knows you now. It knows your choice." Daniel's blade glowed, humming with the same energy as the walls. For the first time, he felt power rush into his arm, filling him with something more than fear. The soldiers stared in shock. "What the hell is happening?" Daniel's voice was low, steady, certain. "I'm not leaving with you." He stepped forward, blade blazing. "This is my family now." The soldiers raised their rifles. Again, but Daniel no longer felt small. He felt alive. The chamber shook as the cave's glow surged brighter, veins of living light crawling across the stone like fire in blood. The soldiers stumbled, covering their eyes from the brilliance. Daniel stood at the center, blade raised. No longer just steel, it now pulsed with the same rhythm as the cavalive, humming, heavy with unseen power. Sira and her children huddled behind him, their glowing eyes wide with awe and fear. The widow's voice trembled, not with weakness, but with reverence. You have chosen. The cave knows you now. You are bound to us. The leader snarled, forcing his men forward. He's one of them now. Drop him. Kill them all. Gunfire ripped through the air. Bullets clanged against the stone, sparking off walls, useless against the living chamber. Some shots cut close, ricocheting past Daniel's arm. He charged, the blade humming as if guiding him. He struck the first rifle metal, shattered like glass. The soldier screamed as energy flared through him, throwing him to the ground. Daniel turned on another, his movements faster, stronger than ever before. His blade carved through weapons, not men, but the soldiers fell back in terror all the same. Monster? One shouted. Daniel's teeth clenched. No, he was not a monster. He was human. But also something more now, something the cave had awakened. The leader raised his weapon, aiming past Daniel at the widow and children. His voice was a growl. If you won't die, they will. Daniel roared, charging. His blade struck the rifle, cutting it clean in two. Sparks burst, and the leader staggered, back fury twisting his scarred face. You're a traitor, Hayes. A traitor to your kind. Daniel stood tall, chest heaving, blade glowing in his hand. His voice was low but steady. No, I'm a father now. The words hung in the chamber, heavier than any weapon. The soldiers faltered, glancing at each other with fear, but the leader's rage only burned hotter. He drew a knife, lunging. Daniel blocked, the clash ringing loud. Sparks and light danced between them. The fight was brutal. Steel against living energy, man against man, human against his own kind. Daniel's arms ached, but something deeper pushed him forward. Not survival, not fear. Family, the leader spat blood. You think she'll save you?
You think those things
are your future? Daniel shoved him back, blade pressing against his throat. His voice thundered. They're not things. They're mine. For a heartbeat, silence. Only the cave's hum. Then the leader laughed, bitter and broken. You've already lost. More squads are coming. You can't stop them all. The words stabbed deeper than any blade. Daniel knew it was true. More soldiers, more guns. They would never stop hunting. Sira stepped forward, her glowing wounds burning brighter. Then we stand, together, until the end. Daniel's chest tightened. She was dying. He had seen it in her scars, in her weakening breath. Soon, she would be gone. The thought tore him apart, but it also forged something unbreakable. In him, he would not let her children die. He would not let their story end here. The cave pulsed again, stronger than before, as if hearing his resolve. The walls trembled. Tones cracked. A deep rumble rose, like the planet itself answering his choice. Sira's hand touched his arm. The cave will listen to you now. Command it. Protect them. Daniel raised his blade high. The glow surged, brighter than fire, brighter. Then the sun. Energy exploded outward, filling the chamber. Soldiers were thrown back, their weapons ripped from their hands. Screams echoed as the cave swallowed them, sealing cracks shut with molten stone. When the light faded, silence returned. The soldiers were gone. The cave was still. Daniel dropped to his knees, gasping, the blade still glowing faintly in his grip. His body shook, but his spirit stood firm. The children crawled to him, wrapping their small arms around his shoulders. Their glowing eyes shone with trust. "Father," they whispered in unison. Daniel closed his eyes. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. But the widow's voice cut through the moment, soft, sorrowful. "The soldiers will return. Stronger. More will come." Daniel looked at her, his heart twisting at the sight of her trembling body, the poison spreading. He knew what she was saying without words. She would not see the end of this war. He tightened his arms around the children. His voice was quiet, but unbreakable. "Then let them come. I'll be here. I'll fight." Sira smiled weakly. For the first time, it was not sorrow in her eyes, but peace. She touched his cheek, her hand faint with light. "Protector, Father, human, my children are yours now." Her words sank into him like fire and stone, binding him in ways no weapon could. Cut. Far above the cave, thunder rolled. A ship's engines roared across the sky. More soldiers, more death. But Daniel stood, blade glowing in his hand, the widow's children by his side. His voice echoed through the living cave. "This world is ours now, and no one will take it from us." The cave pulsed in answer, alive, ready. The war was not over. It had only just begun.